This was a huge week in gaming as we got new Summer Game Fest show confirmations, trouble in live service land, investor calls for Take-Two and Ubisoft, a big new open world game has been announced, and way more gaming news to go over. So good that you're joining this Sunday news roundup. And let's go. Yes, I said last week that we would probably hear about a new state of play, and well, this week Sony officially announced that a new show will indeed happen on June 2nd at the usual time. And to kick things off, we're getting a closer look at Marvel's Wolverine, so the stream will likely open with a gameplay segment of like 6 to 8 minutes from this new Insomniac title. I'm also expecting pre-order details, what the deluxe edition includes, likely some cool outfits, and a collector's edition reveal, with then pre-orders likely opening a week after that. So I'm really excited for this one. And of course, the fact that they are opening with Wolverine likely means that they are saving something major for the final reveal, just like we had for all the recent state of plays. With last time, of course, the God of War trilogy remake. Well, the one more thing from this new state of play is likely also a God of War title, the new game from the God of War 2018 director Cory Barlog, a spin-off focused on Kratos' wife, Faye, potentially targeting a 2027 release. But credible leaker Nate the Hate says that we should also expect more exclusives at the show. Now personally, I think they will save Intergalactic for the September state of play. Like having 2 gameplay reveals for big Sony titles seems a bit too much. I think you want to save that for after Wolverine has been released. But we've heard a ton of rumblings about a second Naughty Dog team working on a new Uncharted title, so maybe we see that. An Until Dawn 2 has also been rumored for a very long time. Paris Lily posted on Twitter saying that PlayStation invited him to attend a live audience viewing of the State of Play, which is something Sony almost never does, and honestly that says a lot. The event will be shown in an Alamo Drafthouse cinema, where it's listed as a 90-minute event. Also, Millie A, who definitely seems to have some insights into what's happening behind the scenes at PlayStation, also says that we should not miss this one. And another interesting detail, state of plays are usually announced just 1 or a few days in advance, so Sony confirming this June 2nd date nearly 2 weeks ahead of time is honestly kinda wild, and probably tells us that this will be a bigger showcase than usual. I'll be live reacting to the event, you find the countdown in the pinned comment, so hopefully I will see you there. And I'll also have another update on what you can expect in the next Sunday video, and some extra speculation videos planned on the React channel, so stay tuned and let me know what you hope to see in the comments down below. And we might also, during the state of play, see PlayStation really lean into the fact that their own games are staying exclusive to their platform, because this week we basically got confirmation that future single-player PlayStation games will no longer come to PC. So no Ghost of Yotei, no Saros, and also no Wolverine or Intergalactic and any future titles. So if you were playing Horizon on PC and are like, oh, I can't wait to figure out what happens with Aloy next, you gotta buy a PlayStation. We already discussed in previous Sunday videos how the PC ports started out very strong in terms of sales, but really slowed down, making these games potentially far more valuable as console exclusives that help sell PS5 systems. But their live service games are still coming to PC day one, including their games, or should I say Break-In, because Sony filed a trademark this week for Break-In, which Jason Schreier confirmed is indeed the new title for this third-person extraction shooter, formerly known as Fair Games. So it seems like we could potentially get a re-reveal for the game during the state of play they might want to do, and it's out now to get some sort of hype for it. Otherwise, I don't know why you would show it again. So yeah, Sony, of course, is still continuing with their live service push, even though this week we once again saw multiple stories about companies moving away from that strategy. Hasbro's CEO revealed that the company has spent around $1 billion on video game projects recently, but notably, none of them are live service games. And he has some pretty good reasoning behind it. If you invest a fair amount of money and give a fair amount of time to a talented team to make a more traditional game, you probably won't make billions, but your chances of at least making your money back are much higher. He also noted that if those projects fail, the losses are usually much smaller, making traditional single-player games significantly less risky overall. Which honestly feels like something Quantic Dream should have realized much earlier. Their last release was Detroit Become Human back in 2018, and now 8 years later, they finally had something in early access Spellcasters Chronicles, a free-to-play mobile-style team-based game. Well, this week we learned that they're already shutting it down. Imagine if all those resources had instead gone into another narrative-driven game, which is literally what the studio is known for. Now, thankfully Star Wars Eclipse, which is exactly that kind of cinematic story-driven game, remains unaffected and is apparently still in development. But yeah, we heard many stories about a rocky development, so I also would not be shocked if the studio eventually closed its doors. I hope I'm wrong, but the signs are definitely worrying. And finally, this week we also learned that Destiny 2 is getting its final major update on June 9th, after which the game will no longer be actively developed. Another example showing that live service development is maybe not nearly as glamorous as company once thought. But this story is obviously way bigger than just Destiny 2. Sony bought Bungie for $3.6 billion, believing Destiny 2 would continue generating massive revenue for years to come. And now they're basically shutting down that income stream entirely. Instead, Bungie is reportedly shifting more developers over to Marathon, essentially putting all their eggs in that basket, the extraction shooter that is still far from breaking even financially. But Sony apparently sees still potential here, and I don't blame them, because the players who enjoy Marathon really seem to love it, which is definitely a strong foundation to build on. But should that come at the cost of Destiny as a franchise? Because even after such a long period without major expansions, Destiny 2 still had a more active player base than Marathon over the last few weeks. And then Jason Schreier added even more fuel to the fire by reporting that Bungie is planning significant layoffs following the end of Destiny 2's development. Destiny 3 is not in active production. Some Bungie staff are pitching and prototyping new ideas, including Destiny projects, but none are currently greenlit. Which honestly feels like the worst possible outcome for the still very large Destiny fan base, because if Bungie lays off staff while simultaneously keeping a sizable team on Marathon, then there simply might not be enough people left to properly build a full-scale Destiny 3. So the only realistic outcome could be a smaller Destiny project first, maybe something like a Destiny 1 Classic Revival and then building from there, but yeah, it's going to be difficult. I'm curious to hear what you think about all this in the comments down below. So yes, just when you think that the Sony live service push could not get any worse, stuff like this happens. But I don't think this should impact our excitement for the state of play. I'm really expecting a fun show. Now let's move on to way more gaming news, like a new open world game announced, investor calls for Ubisoft and Take-Two. A like would really help me out, and subscribe, because we post one of these big gaming news roundup videos every Sunday. Now time for quick shots, news stories I will go over quickly, starting with a big one. Warhorse Studios, the developers behind Kingdom Come Deliverance, announced that they are working on 2 brand new games. An open world Middle-earth RPG, okay, and also a new Kingdom Come adventure. You would think that the Middle-earth RPG will also be first person, right, like Kingdom Come, but probably with fewer survival mechanics if I had to guess, and I would not mind that at all. And the Kingdom Come adventure sounds like a smaller title, so probably not on the same scale as the recent sequel. During an investor call, they even suggested that the game could launch as soon as 2027, or at least before April 2028. Which again probably hints at a smaller scope project. Your takes are more than welcome. Always cool to see prestige studios getting the chance to work on huge IPs. I honestly think this could be massive and a huge win for Embracer. Now Ubisoft posted not so great financials, a 1.3 billion euro loss thanks to the many game cancellations and delays. And they also did not really have a big title launch in their recent financial year, but according to Ubisoft, the outlook is improving. So for this financial year, from April 2026 until March 2027, they of course have Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, launching on July 9th. My impressions after playing 4 hours are up on the channel, by the way, so check them out if you haven't already. I will leave a link to it at the end of this video. And Ubisoft also mentioned that other target premium games based on established Ubisoft brands are coming during this financial year, which is very likely the rumored Rayman Legends remake and potentially the Watch Dogs Legion director's cut that was also rumored. So yeah, not a really big year, but they expect the real turnaround during the 2 years after that, with a new Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Ghost Recon all planned between April 2027 and March 2029. So yeah, for one, this means that the new Ghost Recon has been delayed and will now probably launch in spring 2027 at the earliest. Assassin's Creed Hexe was rumored for June 2027, and then Far Cry 7, I would say still in 2027, but maybe even early 2028. But the crazy part is that Ubisoft specifically highlighted the financial year between April 2028 and March 2029 as especially important, which honestly makes me think that there could be another major Assassin's Creed release in that window, maybe both the Assassin's Creed 1 remake and a brand new title. The Division 3 was not mentioned, just like Splinter Cell Remake and Beyond Good and Evil 2, but you would obviously assume that those also release before April 2029. Maybe the Division 3 is in 2029, so a bit later. Black Flag Resynced, which already reported some of the best pre-order performance for the franchise in the first 3 weeks, and Rainbow Six Siege will likely carry Ubisoft for the next 12 months, but after that, according to Ubisoft, things should finally start turning around. But yeah, we've heard that before many times, so let's wait and see. They still got a ton to prove. During an investor call for Take-Two this week, they once again reaffirmed that GTA 6 is launching on November 19th. They also noted that pre-orders and marketing will begin this summer, meaning somewhere between the end of June and the end of September. So keep that in mind when you see rumors about the trailer dropping in the next week or whatever. What is interesting though is that Take-Two expects around $8 billion in revenue for the fiscal year 2027, which runs from April 2026 until March 2027. The last financial year, they generated $6.7 billion in revenue. So if you read between the lines, they are basically forecasting a roughly $1.5 billion increase because of GTA 6 alone. And honestly, that sounds pretty realistic. Although, I could also see that number being much higher if GTA Online 2 also launches during this financial year. And you would think that Judas, the game from the BioShock creator Ken Levine, also launches before April 2027, right? I think there's a chance we might see the game at the State of Play. But yeah, for now, GTA 6 on November 19th, it still seems to be happening. No word on pricing though, but we will probably hear more about that in July or August. Sony has increased the prices of PlayStation Plus. PushSquare has a really easy breakdown of the changes. In short, Essential goes up by $1, pound or euro. Extra increases by $2, €2 and £1. And Premium goes up by $2, 1.5 pounds and €2. But worth noting is that this only applies to new subscribers. So if you stay subscribed continuously, you keep the old pricing. And these increases are likely meant to offset some rising hardware cost and lower profitability on the hardware side. But yeah, it of course still sucks. Skipping the rumor roundup this week because I already kind of covered all the big leaks in the news here and there. So let's move on to this coming week. It's basically the calm before the Summer Game Fest storm. But there are still some very interesting things happening, with the biggest highlight obviously being the launch of 007 First Light. The new James Bond game from the Hitman developers launches on May 27th or the 26th if you pre-order the game, because then you automatically get the Digital Deluxe Edition with early access. And I'm still doing my giveaway, so you can enter. I will leave a link in the pinned comment and I will reach out just before launch. Expect spoiler-free coverage of 007 First Light also here on the channel. All I'm going to say is you don't want to miss this. Now, Mina the Hollower also launches this week, the new game from Shovel Knight developer Yacht Club Games. And a lot is riding on this release because the game was delayed multiple times, and according to reports, the studio has largely exhausted the funds generated from Shovel Knight. So they really need this Zelda-like adventure that they are selling for only $20 to succeed. Honestly though, I'm expecting very strong reviews, but I'm curious if it's enough for them. We might also see another Black Flag Resynced blog post, and I know I say that every this coming week, but it has been true so far, so I will keep saying it. I will also finally have some time this week for more React style content, so keep an eye on my channels. The weekly news stream is also returning, and of course another big Sunday video like this will be happening at the end of the week. Weekly stream in the pinned comment, subscribe, leave a like, and check out that Black Flag video by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.